what should you do? And many people have heard me, even on my social media, talk about how, the best strategy is to go out of state. And Jared and Brian have shown that that's not necessarily the case. So I'm super stoked to learn from them. And so I'm excited for everyone on this webinar, everyone who's watching this as a recording afterwards. There should be a lot of really good information that we talk about here. So we'll give a few minutes for people to join in. And again, after a few minutes, we will jump on over. Brian, Jared, anything entertaining you guys want to share while we give a couple minutes for people to continue coming in?
Brian likes to beatbox, so he can do that for us.
That's exactly what I was hoping. I was like, I really hope Brian can beatbox, because I'd love to see if he could do that for us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Over the top of it.
I love it.
Entertaining anecdotes. Let's see. Do we have any good jokes? We did go see Kevin Hart the other night, and he had some doozies. So he worked out, or he's working out his like next special. And so he wanted to do it in like a smaller market. So Riverside is a great place to still put 15,000 people in a stadium or like a theater. But he made us put all our phones in a pouch, like you lock it up or whatever, and you go on. And so anyways, that was fun. So when that comes out, it's really good. Like he had some great stuff in there.
They wouldn't let you at all record anything?
No.
Oh man, bummer.
The smartwatches, they locked it all up tight.
Yeah. Well, it was fun too, because he said, hey, when he was telling the jokes that he's working on, he's like, hey, this is one of the 2 jokes that it still hasn't quite landed yet, and I don't know how to say this right. And he's like, so this is why your phone's locked up. And they were good. He's got some good stuff. Very impressed.
Good stuff. Well, can't wait to see that show. I know that it's a little late here, and again, we'll send the recording out to anybody else who comes in after. What do you guys think about just jumping straight in so we can get through all of it? Because after reading through the stories and the case studies, I think there's going to be some really good information here. So yeah, are you guys cool with that?
For sure.
We're good to go.
Okay, so guys, I don't even want to try to introduce you. Which one of you usually introduces your group and what you do?
I'll do
it. All right, cool.
So Jared's been in real estate since 2008, started in loans, and then transitioned over into real estate after the crash. So I think right after he did transitioning over into real estate, was it 2010, Jared? Like the year you did 113 short sales or something?
Yeah, that was a crazy year.
Yeah, so that was when Jared blew up that year basically and started flipping and everything else. And so we flipped over 450 homes. And that's kind of what I joined Jared in 2018. When he sold me my first home in 2016, we became friends and left my job and joined Jared up. And so what attracted me to Jared was he was going down to Guatemala and building homes down there. This is something we don't really ever talked about and stuff like that. But anyways, I was really attracted to that and wanted to go down to Guatemala with him. And that's how we became friends and started our relationship up and everything like that. And so we still do that. We still build homes in Guatemala and still have kids on scholarships down there and stuff like that.
Wow.
It's affordable, super cheap to build a house down there. It costs a little bit more to build an ADU up here, but it's still something that's pretty cool to do. And so with that and the flipping background, we started doing a bunch of ADUs in 2021, and we'll tell the story of that. But that's when everything just kind of took off for us as well. We were selling a lot of homes before that, doing a lot of flips and everything like that. But we've felt like we found a really good combination between selling homes, working with investors, working with flippers, and kind of blending that all in together into some great pricing and a good strategy of how to cash flow on a property here in California. Because just like you said, Sosi, a lot of our stuff was out of state that Jared and I were doing. I had a couple Airbnbs in Tennessee and Nashville that I was trying to make work, and COVID happened and kind of destroyed those. And we were doing other strategies. Jared had a bunch of stuff and fourplexes out in Las Vegas. And we're just kind of going wherever money makes sense, you know. We weren't holding too much though. We were just flipping a ton of stuff. And then we found this strategy and we were like, all right, we need to start holding properties and making this work, you know, start planning for our future when we want to retire and stop hustling every day. So yeah.
I love that. Well, that's a good intro. Gosh, I don't even know how to follow that. For those of you guys who, again, are on here watching the recording, seeing it on YouTube, yep, many of you guys are probably part of our channel. My heart in creating the practice that I did was coming from the pastoral background. I used to be a pastor, saw my mom get really bad advice from somebody who had good intentions, and I learned at that point that this industry needed holistic guidance, meaning that people needed to know what they were talking about from a financial, a tax, a future impact standpoint, so that they can make better decisions for them, their families, their grandchildren, all the generations to come. So with that being said, we've gone through a lot of trainings to be able to become very well learned, but I will share the things I've learned the most are from guys like Brian and Jared, where you see somebody in the paint, you see somebody doing what they're doing, they've learned from their scuffs and their falls, and then you get to stand on their wisdom and just try to grow from there. So I have a big heart to do events, recordings, scenarios like this, because this information is what will create freedom in somebody's life. And that freedom will be able to establish a new way of living as a whole. So I'm super stoked to kind of go through this with you guys. Jared, anything else to add? I don't want to leave you all by yourself there.
No, I mean, I appreciate that. Like your story, for me, that is the reason that I'm selling real estate today. Same way is when I started out in the business, I was doing loans and I saw so many people getting foreclosed on because they got bad advice. And so helped through short sales, but I saw a lot of real estate damage and bad decisions that were made. And so I just took a lot of time and a lot of study to become educated, to start giving good advice. And as I was doing that, I was like, well, shoot, I have to practice what I preach. I have to do this. And so Brian and I in our business, we have decided that we are go first guys. Like, we're not going to tell somebody to do something that we haven't done ourselves. We have to go through the bumps and bruises so that when we come and roll it out to somebody else, that we can at least speak from experience. And so that means a lot to me, being educated in what it is that we do. And we like to preach to people that we are not only going to sell you something, but we're practitioners in what it is that we're telling you that you should buy and what we're telling you that you should invest in. And so that education, that ground up kind of thought process is very important to us. And we do believe in the fiduciary. We do believe that it's our responsibility to help our people do what is best for them. And that has created a lot of passion for us and being able to help people become investors. And we do have some success stories surrounding that where this has been life-changing. And so that's some of the story that we're going to tell tonight.
Can't wait. Well, then a few slides, and then we're going to get into the real meat and potatoes of this, guys. Just a quick overview, right? Why are we so passionate about this? Here's some top benefits. It creates cash flow for you. It creates opportunities of appreciation, right? When I'm speaking with the clients and I'm talking to them about buying a $500,000 asset, and I go, hey, would you like to buy a $500,000 asset for $50,000, or would you like to buy it for $100,000? Right? When you think about what you acquire in real estate, you use your cash investment to buy a bigger asset, and then your rate of return is based on the value of that bigger asset. So you can buy big assets where that's the rate of return based on lower investments, meaning the amount of money you put out for the down payment. So some of the top benefits are cash flow, which creates supplemental income, appreciation, which allows you to truly leverage at least the down payment piece to your home and being able to acquire that property, leveraging it into other properties, right? Cross collateralization, being able to use equity from one home to buy another. Tax shelters is one of the biggest pieces. Like, I can geek out on this all day. The more I've learned from my CPA, the more I've learned about how to be able to take passive income and losses there through certain loopholes against active income and save tens of thousands of dollars has become amazing. This is the kind of life-changing stuff that when you realize what the rich, the wealthy do as far as from a tax strategy to keep as much money to their family instead of Uncle Sam's, it's again, life-changing for somebody's entire future. So those are really 4 practical top reasons why investment is such a passion for so many people who look at real estate, right? Like, again, I work with the top tax strategists in the country. And even for her, when she's analyzing a self-employed person's taxes, she has shared there's so much you can do as far as legal deductions. Once those are all tapped out, what's left? Real estate, using depreciation, being able to write off different deductions there. That's what's left. And so those are the 4 practical pieces. And number 5, which I believe is something that people overlook a lot, right? Not only is investing in real estate something that can change your current scenario, your future scenario, your family's future scenario, but it can make a really big impact on creating a safe shelter for somebody else, creating the right home, putting the right materials in it, establishing something of security can be completely game changing for an individual. And so as you go through the scenarios that Brian and Jared are going to review with us, I want to make sure that we kind of put the reason of why there. It can make you money and it can make you help other people at the same time. Some popular programs on this, and I'll explain these briefly, and then I'll let Jared and Brian jump in and add anything else to these as we go into their subject matter today. If you're coming in still going, okay, I'm looking at California investing, but I really don't know what that means. Keep in mind, it's a very broad term, right? So there's long and short-term rentals, which means that you can do situations like Airbnb, and you can rent out your property on VRBO and all those different pieces. You can also look at things like fully furnished and find either insurance companies that need houses to be able to have people who are having their houses redone because whatever claim housed, or you're needing to do, again, some like fully furnished, I think it's furnished fully, one of those 2 words switched over, where you can find travel nurses who are looking for, 2-4 month stays at a time. So you have midterm rentals and you have long-term rentals. Each one of those come with different type of tax benefits. Each one come with different cash flows. But that's one section of investment that you can do. Another section is the BRRRR methodology, right? Where you can buy, rehab, rent, refi, repeat. Meaning that you buy something that you got to completely renovate. After you renovate it, then you can rent it out. And as you're renting it out, once you hit the seasoning period you need to hit, you can refinance it and then take that money and do it all over again. That's not for everybody. That's one of the sexier, I think, type of investment properties that people look at. But it's not for everyone. Creative financing, this is subject to for a lot of times, or just being able to do seller financing with somebody who has no mortgage on the property. These are a little different. We're not going to spend time, I don't believe, on this unless Jared and Brian want to talk about that. But this is stuff like if you look at other social media people like Base Morby or people like that, it can be really, really helpful there. One of the ones that becomes most popular for first-time home buyers trying to buy in California, when you're looking at house hacking, meaning you buy a property where you rent out the rooms, or you have other units you can rent out, or as we're going to dive into today, you can create more units to rent out. And then just making sure you sequence from there accordingly, right? So you don't want to buy typically an SFR and then try to buy a 4 unit, because sometimes underwriters won't agree with that. So you want to make sure you sequence appropriately, where you buy the units and keep sequencing down so you can set yourself up for the most success. But those are the 4 basic categories of investing. So when you hear people talk about investments, they're usually falling into one of these and then focusing in on that one category and just becoming super good at that and then reaching out into others. So in today's conversation, you're going to see a really good example of what you can do on investments. And I hope that you guys can take away from this, learn from it. And if you decide to focus in on it, become an expert at it by learning from experts like Jared and Brian. And then from there, reach out into other opportunities. Brian, Jared, anything to add on that before we go into your guys' content matter tonight?
I mean, I will say that all of the things that you just went through, we have used and do use in our business. So it's not really, you can niche down into any one of these areas, even in the ADU space. So it's not an and, it's an and or, it's not just or. And so, well, yeah, but I mean, I think that
Really,
all
a
of
lot for you
these
to dive
things,
in.
you dive down into them, you can see lots of success. Some of them we do less than others because there's also a lot of work that goes into specialty in any one of these specific areas, to become super skillful at it. But as you incorporate any of these things, they can be helpful.
Okay. Well, I'm stoked. I'm gonna be taking a lot of notes. Brian, anything else on your end before we jump in?
Yeah, no, just as you were saying everything, I was thinking the same thing that Jared said. Like we've done all of these, and we do all of them for the ADUs that we do. You know, we have one guy that rents a couple of these from us, and he's doing the midterm rentals, you know, the insurance thing on these. He has them furnished and he rents them out. So like he'll pay us for a complete house 6,500 a month for the 3 units, and then he's taking that and he's probably making like 10 or 12 grand a month on it, you know.
Yeah.
And so we don't care because he's paying us the rent that we want, the 6,500 a month.
Yeah.
And so what he does is great for him. So we haven't specialized in that, the insurance game of it, but he definitely has. And we have a couple clients that do it for you know, for nursing rentals, traveling nurses and stuff like that, you know. And so we have a couple clients that really like to do that because they're females as well. They feel really safe with a professional female coming in and renting a place from them. So they love that strategy and doing something like that. So, and we can talk more in depth about the burst strategy with this, with ADUs. There's a little trick to it that you have to do as far as the refinancing goes. As you might know, as a lender, you know, you got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
So there's strategies around that and things that we do with that, but we love doing that. Obviously, we love leveraging as much as possible and pulling out as much cash when we're done with these as possible every time.
And one of the points that I'm gonna make here really quickly up front is that we're super excited to be on here and talk to everybody. This is like a very slight overview of what we do. We literally can and have spoken for hundreds of hours on this. Like there is so much nuance to this space. We had no clue when we got involved how detailed it was.
Wow.
And so that's why we've launched a community and we take opportunities to speak to people when we get it, because yes, this is a powerful product, but also the devil's always in the details. And so we can answer, you know, you look at that picture of the iceberg, right, that's sticking up and you see like that little bit, and then you see underneath the water where it's like ginormous and it's 15 times the size or 100 times the size. We're going to be able to talk about the tip of the iceberg today, but enough that for people that want to go out and really dive into this, it can change your life and it can be super beneficial to you, as it has been to us and many of our clients and colleagues who are invested into this kind of real estate investment strategy.
Well, then let's jump straight in, guys. The Triplex Millionaire. I will be your slide guy, so you tell me if you want me to go next. But I hope you guys like this little image of cash flow symbolism I put there for you.
Yeah, and so I mean, to the comment that I was just making, like we realized as we started doing millions of dollars of business with this product, the triplex conversion is basically what we're calling it, is we needed to figure out a way to disseminate this information to multiple people at one time, because we had lots of agent buddies that are like, hey, we are starving because interest rates are skyrocketing and we see that you're doing more transactions than ever. What the hell are you doing? And so we've taken lots of time to talk to our friends who are agents and other loan officers and other investors that are in the business, but it got overwhelming, and our business has been growing like a weed, which is awesome. And we love to add value first, but we also acknowledge, like, if you want to go out and run this product, you're going to have 70 million questions for me, and I can't answer all of them for you and still do my job. So lots of people were referring us business, but even still that gets awkward. And so we're just like, look, we need to put all this information in one place and help people in one place. And so we developed a community where we can download the knowledge that we have, as well as having mentorship and things like that. And we'll go deeper into that, but we called that community the Triplex Millionaire, because for us, this is not only added millions of dollars to the commissions that we've made over the last few years, but it's also added multi-millions to our portfolio in equity. And so that's been a really big deal to us and a life changer from a trajectory of our investment. Yes, we've been flipping and buying rental properties here and there, but it was never a major focus of our strategy until we discovered the Triplex Millionaire system. And then we're like, shoot, we can do this over and over and over again. And so now we personally are intentionally adding to our portfolio every month. We are always at any given time buying a rental property. We currently are always in an escrow buying our next triplex conversion. So that's what's changed for us. And that's why we decided to create this community. And that's what we called it, is the Triplex Millionaire.
That's good stuff. Sweet. All right, you guys tell me. I'll support you on the back end.
All right, perfect. So we can go and get started with that. Jared already kind of gave us a little opening segment about what this is. And so what we're focused on here, just like Jared said, is taking a single family residence and turning it into a triplex. And so what we've found with this opportunity, there's kind of two different categories of people that we've been working with, right? One is if you're an investor, and one if you're a real estate agent. So I don't know how many of your followers people are agents. I'm guessing quite a few.
It's been more heavily on direct to consumer, to be honest. So yeah, a lot of just clientele.
Okay.
Perfect. And so for us, on that investor side, a lot of times what we were seeing was people come in and will tell this story, but that were coming in and looking to, cash flow or put their money somewhere. Either they're high W-2 earners, or they're selling a property, or they have a property that's not doing well and they want to really do something with it. And so, for that, we're helping people acquire a property, turn into a cash flowing asset and something that's really going to make them a profit on it. And so with that strategy, what we're working towards is finding a product that brings in something that they can use, just like you were talking about, right? So the asset that they're bringing, they're going to be able to depreciate that and gain appreciation on that because of real estate. And then as an agent, what we're looking to do is help them sell more properties. And so for us, what it did that year, we sold over $100 million worth of real estate in 2022 off of this product alone, and not including our normal sales. So typically Jared and I are together, because we work as a team, we're closing probably somewhere, around 100 transactions a year just ourselves. And so that year, a lot of our real estate was focused as real estate agents on this product and selling it to them. So that's what really we want to talk about and help agents succeed in that, to be professionals in this product, to be able to consult with their clients, to be able to bring them an investment property that's really going to make sense. And we can go on to the next slide. So
when we call it the triplex, like, I want to stipulate that is, it's a way that we communicate. It's not necessarily a legal triplex. It is a legal 3-unit, but that doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. With triplex, what that means is you're zoned in a specific area to be able to have 3 or 4 units. And it's underwritten a certain way by the city from a parking perspective, from like how big your units can be. But the cost of doing those units is significant. So each door in fees is going to cost you around $40,000 just in permits and, different development fees, park fees, school fees, all those different things. And so with ADUs, they function like units, like a triplex or a fourplex would, but what they don't do is they don't cost like units. And so They're also not necessarily underwritten by a lender the same way either. But from a cash flow perspective, they bring you the same kind of rents. If you have a 2-bedroom ADU versus a 2-bedroom duplex or triplex, you're going to get the same rents. And so one of the benefits of this product that we're able to create, or this triplex of a junior ADU and an ADU, instead of paying to add 2 units to a property, instead of paying $80,000 in fees, you pay $3,000 in fees. And that is a massive savings when it comes to development, but also you don't have a lot of the stipulations that you do when you're building a triplex. So you don't have all the parking requirements. You don't have the setback requirements. You don't have to be in the special neighborhood. And so all of those things make this product much, much more accessible. And so that is something that I just wanted to kind of dive into and say, hey, this is actually a single family with an ADU and a junior ADU. And so that's what we're creating here. When we're saying Triplex Millionaire, it's really more specifically talking about a 3-unit conversion with an ADU and a junior ADU. So you can go to the next slide. So I'm actually going to pick up this slide. We're going to switch orders here because Chris is a buddy of mine. And so when we're talking about how this product is changing people's lives, this is a fun story because Chris is somebody that had, like maybe many of you, he had an investment property that he had kept when he moved out of it. So it wasn't anything super intentional that he went out and bought to specifically do this. It's just like, hey, he kept a property, and at the time he was doing a little bit better than breaking even, but he had a lot of equity. And so he approached me and he's like, hey man, I want to buy my first investment property, and I know you own a lot of investment property. Can you help me out with this? And I was super happy to help him. And so we sat down like I do with most of my clients that want to get into this and said, okay, let's look at your plan. What is it that you're trying to do with the property that you have, and what are you trying to accomplish? And we talked about his strategy. He makes a lot of money, wants to be able to figure out how to retire. But then also he's got 5 kids to put through college and help buy their first houses and all of the different things that you want to be able to do for your kids. But understanding that he wasn't going to be able to do that just by saving a lot, because he pays a crap ton of taxes with a high W-2 sales job. And so when he came to me on that, it's like, hey, cool idea. Love the fact that you want to take some equity and buy your second investment property and make it work for you. But what's going to happen is any cash flow that you're making on your first one, you're going to strip away by going out and raising your mortgage to borrow out that money. And then the second property, when you put a down payment down, you're not going to make any money on that one either, because you can't really cash flow in California with that method. And so at that time, we talked to him about buying some multi-units, and he did a couple of them out of state at the time that we first started this. This was right before COVID that he bought those. Well, he bought those triplexes. They did well. But he had to go out of the state to do that. Well, COVID hits, we get into this, and this ADU law changes, and we start realizing it. And so I'm talking to Chris, he's super excited, and he's like, hey, I'm interested in buying more investment property. So we analyzed the 2 properties that he had bought up in Idaho as triplexes, and we said, okay, great. Those things are making you a few $1,000s a month with both of them, which is way better than you would have done if you bought here, but they've also now gained a ton of equity. So why don't we take the equity that you have in those 2 properties and move it back to California? Because the 2 properties that he had, the rent rolls were like $4,000 a month a piece, and he was making about $1,500 a piece in positive cash flow. but the value of those was like $750 now. And so $750 a piece, that meant he had on the two properties like $800,000 worth of equity. That's what it was. So it was 800 grand worth of equity now between the two properties. And so he was able to take that money and he was able to pull it out and come down back to California and now buy 4 of these projects down here. And so the bottom line is, by leveraging his first asset into a decent move into properties over a couple of years that gained a bit of equity, he sold those properties, put the money down here in California, and now in that, it was about a 4-year time frame that he's been doing this now with us. Now he's up to 6 of these projects that he owns with us, and that we've helped him through the process. But he is now making more than 6 figures in passive income off of his portfolio. And so all he did was take money that he already had, that was already sitting in investment property that was barely making him anything, and over making multiple real estate moves using the same money over and over again, he's now able to make 6 figures a year passively. What's cooler and what we love to show people is what that means for Chris today. Yeah, he's making good money off of his real estate, but his equity gain in that time frame, he now has 7 figures of equity in those properties, about $1.4 million in equity that he's grown from $400,000 in just a 4-year period of time. But also, when you look at the value of his rental portfolio is worth about $3 million right now, about 3.5. And so at $3.5 million, over the next 10 years, the value of that portfolio is going to go to like $7 million at the average appreciation rate in California. So that's amazing. So that equity that he has right now is great. He's got, that 7-figure equity right now, but it's going to grow by $3.5 million without him even touching it over the next 10 years. But what's even more important is his rent rolls on those properties right now are over $20,000 is what he's bringing in rents every month. Well, in the next 10 years, and so out of that, he's netting about $10,000 a month, $11,000 a month. But what happens over the next 10 years, that's way more exciting to Chris, is his rent roll that's it's like 24 some odd $1,000. What that $24,000 does in the next 10 years is rents continue to appreciate the way that they do in California. That's going to go to almost $50,000. And that jump that he sees in rents, he's not only going to be making $10,000 a month in rents now in positive cash flow, his positive cash flow is going to over $30,000 a month in rents in that time frame. So what's exciting for us about Chris is that Chris took something that was an afterthought. He just kept a rental property. It's like, yeah, I'm going to hold on to this. Did well for him. And over a 10 to 15 year period of time, he's going to have turned that into multiple millions of dollars, but also hundreds of thousands. He'll be close to $400,000 a year in passive income. He has a management company that deals with it. They're just assets that he owns. And that is life-changing. So now it puts him in a spot where in the 20-year timeline, he'll be in a spot where he no longer has to worry about working. He's completely replaced his income just by owning cash flowing assets. So that's what makes us super excited about Chris's story.
All righty. So Larry and Yingling, this is more for the real estate agents out there, but you guys can definitely apply it to yourselves as well if you're an investor. I'll try and go a little quick on this one just so we have enough time to get through all the slides. But this story was an interesting one, and for you that are agents on there can can hopefully relate to this a little bit as well. But we were working Zillow Flex for our team, and a lot of the calls are pretty annoying, right? And they're tough to deal with, or you convert 1 out of 20 and you're doing great type of thing. So a lot of those calls come in late at night, and the phone was ringing. I knew the team wasn't going to take it. This was literally about 8:45 p.m. And I just took the call. I was like, all right, I'm going to take it. And I took it, and there was a guy on the other line, and he wanted to see a duplex here in Riverside, California. It was about 800,000, 850 or something like that for the duplex. And because it was an income property, the income on it was, I think, like 4,500 a month, something like that for the duplex. He was like, hey, I'm really interested in this. I really want to see it. And I was like, okay, this looks great. Why is it that you are interested in this property? Is it just the cash flow? Are you looking to invest, or are you guys moving out here? You're trying to house hack? And he was like, no, I make a decent amount of money. We want to invest in real estate. I haven't really done anything with my money, and I'm looking to retire soon. I want to invest. And so it took me a while to get him to open up and actually tell me what he did and what he was looking for. But because Jared and I had just started doing these, it was definitely fresh in my mind. I was like, hey, we can do a lot better for you with $800,000 if that's what you have and that's what you want to do, than making $4,500 a month on that. And he finally opened up to me and told me, he's a plastic surgeon here in California, makes a decent income, was looking for the credit on his taxes, was also looking to do something, and didn't want to be doing this forever. He's a little older. His girlfriend works out here, and he was looking to retire soon in the next, 5-10 years, something like that was his plan. And so as we started talking more and we realized, what he was really looking for and the type of income that they had, we found this property for them, had a really nice detached garage on it. And we went through the process of explaining what it could be. And they were sold right away. They were very excited and wanted to do something like this. And so they're on their second one now that's going to be completed here pretty soon, their second project with us. And so as a real estate agent, what was awesome about that is, he also lends us private money now for flips. And so as a real estate agent, it's, there was 2 transactions right there. We're going to do a third one with them here pretty soon. And they'll be lifetime clients of ours, right? And this guy, with the type of money that he's able to make, you can just repeat this process over and over again as a real estate agent with someone like this. And that's what's great about introducing this product to those type of clients. And so with them on this property right now, they're probably around 2,400 to 2,600 a month in cash flow on this property. And we're going to go through those numbers next. I'll let Jared take those numbers, Jared, and then I can do Donahue on those and on this case study. But it's something that they can use as taxes. She's using one of the 1 bedrooms as a unit for herself when she comes up here to work, and they're renting out the other 2 units. So the main house and the detached garage. So the detached garage, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, that's the picture. Those 2 rooms that are dark, those are their bedrooms, and then the rest is their kitchen, living room area, and that's the bathroom with the light on in there. So we always add a stackable washer dryer into the units. That's in the bathroom in this unit. We try and do a decent sized kitchen, and we have mini splits. So this one has 3 mini splits on it, 1 in each bedroom and 1 in the living room. And that's for heating and air. And that's how we set these up on this property.
Yeah, and so we like to give actual numbers and show people what this really looks like. We find that to be valuable, so people realize that we're just not making crap up. So this project, this is the one that Larry and Yangling did, and you can just kind of see what the numbers are. Main house, $2,800 a month in rent. It was purchased for $550. Rent on the junior ADU, which junior ADU, what that means is it has to be attached to the house. Usually, if you're doing ground up, it can be attached to the ADU. And ground up meaning you're building from scratch. You can do an ADU and junior ADU that are only attached to each other. In this case, it's attached to the main house. And $1,600 a month for rent for the junior ADU, which is 1 bedroom, and then the 2 bedroom, it's actually a 1 bath, senior ADU is $2,100 a month in rent. And so that's a total rent roll of $6,500 per month for this property. And so you can see the mortgage on this one with 20% down was $3,200 a month. Be a bit more than that now with where rates are today. Total cost to complete construction with plans and appliances was $140,000. And the current appraised value, this is a very conservative number that we're giving you. We are getting this appraisal for 2 units.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, Jared, of why
Yep.
it's 750 and not versus a cap rate or something like that we would go off of.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, right now the 750 is based off of other appraisals that we've gotten with 1 unit. So 1 ADU in the area. And right now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac allow for 1 ADU to be financed. If you have a junior ADU, you can get that financed. So if you have 3 units, but it has to be through the different kind of loan, a debt service coverage ratio loan. And there are a couple other portfolio lenders that allow it through non-QM products, which Sosi could talk about a little bit more. But the bottom line is we believe, and we have seen appraisals on properties like this for over 800,000, probably closer to 850. If you were to go out and buy a triplex right now with a $6,500 a month rent roll, in our area, that's going to put you over $1 million. And so the beauty of this kind of product is if you buy something like this for $550 and you put 140 into it, you're, what, $700,000 into the property, but it's worth over 800,000. But more importantly, you're only $700,000 into a property that to get the same kind of rents, you would have to go pay closer to $1 million to buy. So really, in our mind, you're saving, $300,000 to get this kind of cash flow. And so, and also this is an on the market purchase that you're able to go in and buy and add value to and create an equity position that's greater than what you have into it. And so that's called forced appreciation. And you're able to do that very, very consistently by buying something like this and adding the product to it. So that's why we wanted to go through those numbers with you. So Brian, you want to show them the next one?
Yeah.
Really quick, Jared, can you expand a little bit upon just defining terms for everyone too, just even what the junior ADU means,
Yes.
why the ADU afterwards was put in there?
Yep. And so the junior ADU means that it's 500 square feet or less and has to be attached. So that's, once again, it's attached to the main house, which usually
Existing square footage.
Correct. It comes from existing square footage unless it is being done with a ground up unit. And so if you're going from the dirt up, you can attach a junior ADU to that property, and that's part of the build. So, but it has to be 500 square feet or less, and has to be attached. So that's what a junior ADU is. In an ADU, depending on the municipality, it's going to usually be between 800, well, it can be 1,200 square feet or less, like that. The lowest that the city can restrict you to on an ADU is 800 square feet. They can say, hey, we only allow ADUs up to 800 square feet in our city. They can't restrict you on the smallness. So they can't say, well, you can't build it at 300 square feet because it needs to be bigger. They can't do that, but they can say that 800 is the biggest that they'll allow. And so that's kind of the way that the ADUs work, and they can be attached to the house or they can be detached. We do both. We do ground up ADUs, but most of our ADUs are converted living square footage or garage square footage. That's been the bulk of the business that we have done.
And just to, I know these questions are going to come up, so I'm trying to think through them a little bit. I think we kind of went over it a little bit in the beginning, and we had a good amount of people join right at the middle. So definitely want to get some more clarity. What is this law that changed that allows the junior, unless Brian, you were going to talk about that next, but what's this law that did change that allows such opportunity with junior ADUs and regular ADUs? Why did you guys get so excited about that specifically here in California?
Yeah, so what the law is it says that every single family property in California can have an ADU and a junior ADU on it. And so that means that no matter what you're zoned as a single family, so if you don't have to be zoned R3 or multifamily to have multiple units, but also you don't have parking requirements, which is another thing that really kind of throws people off sometimes. It's like, well, I'd love to do this, but I don't know where I'm going to park all the cars. Now, we're not saying that you shouldn't create any parking, but we're saying that if your parking ratio doesn't work, you can still build. The other thing it does is it removes setbacks, or it reduces setbacks and makes it so you only have to have 4 feet from the fence to be able to build something. Also, if you have a garage conversion and your garage was built on the property line, you don't have to meet a setback for that. You don't have to have all of the things necessarily that new construction does. So you do a garage conversion and your house doesn't have sprinklers in it, you don't have to do sprinklers on that property. If it's under a certain square footage, you don't have to do solar on it. If it's a garage conversion, you don't have to do solar. So there's lots and lots of things that have been very aggressive that have allowed you to develop these units. But also, like we talked about earlier, the fees for doing these ADUs are significantly less. So if you wanted to build an additional unit on a duplex that's zoned R3, you would have to pay the $40,000 of development fees to add the additional unit and meet the parking requirements. And most of them have covered parking requirements as well. So you may have to build a carport, or you may have to build a garage to do that unit, which increases its cost. You have to do fire sprinklers, you have to meet all the fire codes. So there's so many things that you don't have to do with this. You have to separately meter them. So we could go on for days about the different restrictions that are lifted from you by doing an ADU versus building a third unit. And so that is, when I say building a third unit, I mean a third legal unit as a triplex. And so that is the reason that we're excited about these things, because they're very affordable to do. You can do them anywhere. That means you can do them at your own house. You can, if you live in California, and you can do them without having to meet all of the requirements that are required from other units or additional units otherwise. Before, in California, you could do an in-law suite or an in-law flat or whatever on your lot, but it was restricted to who you could rent it out to. So, or you may have had to live in the main house or in the in-law unit to be able to create one. So with an ADU, that's not the case. You can rent it out. You don't have to live in the property. So as an investor, you can go out and create that product, and you're not going to get hit by code enforcement for renting it out to somebody when you don't live in the property. So it functions like a triplex, but it's zoned like a single family. So
that's awesome.
It's very functional, and it's very cheap to do from a development standard standpoint.
Last question before we jump to the next slide.
Yeah.
140 grand for 2 ADUs. I mean, were these like manufactured elsewhere and then just kind of plotted onto the property? Like, how the heck? Okay, well, I'll let you guys talk about that more at the end.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, this is done because we do volume. That's our jam, is we know what stuff costs as flippers. And so we're able to download those costs and savings to our clients. And that's one of the reasons that we've started this community, is because if we're not doing it for people, it's hard to replicate these results unless you understand all the tricks and tips.
Yeah.
And that's what we go through with people. How do you recreate this? Yes, everybody can work with us. Awesome, great, that's cool. But we can't scale to 3,000 of these a year, right? Like, there's a huge inventory that needs to be downloaded. And the way for people to do that is to learn how to work with the right kind of contractors, getting the right kind of bids, and doing things in the way that this is scalable. And so that's what we're trying to teach people.
Love it.
All right, and so here's another one. So like the last one that Jared showed, that one was just one that we found off the MLS. And so that's what we want to show people as well and highlight, that these aren't hidden gems. Obviously, we love the ones that we get off market from wholesalers or other people that are flipping houses and they bring stuff to us. We love those even more, but both of these deals and more of them, everything that we've done has all come off the MLS. I think to date, we've done almost 200 ADUs. And so like Jared said, all of these that we've done, we're doing on our own personal property ground up right now, but the rest have all been converted from existing square footage and space. And so this floor plan right here is one that we really like to find, because it's a 3-car garage. We know out of a 3-car garage, we're going to be able to get a 2-bed, 1-bath. A 3-car garage is 600 square feet, so a 2-car garage is 400 square feet. That makes a great 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. And so when we see a 3-car garage, we absolutely love that. And so with this one, we got it in June of 2023. There's 2 units on the property now. We're waiting for the permits to come back on the garage, and then we'll start that work with the city in Moreno Valley. But this one, it was a little rough shape, the house interior. We need to get $10,000 credit while we were in escrow with them to be able to put that towards the house and getting that fixed up and ready to rent. And so with this one, what we did is, we try and give people a timeline. I think that's one of the things that people really get confused about this, is they think they can go really quickly or really fast on these. It does take them time. You can go quickly, but even with these laws in place and what they're trying to do, that's the goal with the state, right? Because they want to get them done as quickly as possible, as cheaply as possible, and create more housing here in California. So with that being said, it still does take a while to get through the city's process, right? Stay on top of them, keep calling up, keep following up, get the plans through the city. That's one of the reasons why we started our own plan company and design company, is to be able to have more control of that process, right? Get the plans through the cities faster. So we brought in a couple engineers, a couple drafters to help us out full time and do these. And so on this one, bought it at 515. And again, that appraisal on this at 700,000 is just with the 1 unit. So we always get these appraised. If someone's going to do a BRRRR strategy on this, our method is to always get them appraised after 1 unit is done. So we have the house done, we have 1 ADU done, we get it reappraised at that time. And that's what we do. It's never appraised with that 3rd unit on it. And so this one, he's getting $2,700 per month on the main house. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath on this house. The junior ADU just got rented out, and that's renting out for $1,700 per month. And then with the garage, that 3-car garage being a 2-bed, 1-bath, when that gets done and completed, that'll be renting out for about $2,000 a month. So his total rent roll will be $6,400 a month. He'll have spent $150,000 getting both those units done and completed. So, all in, he'll be all in at $665,000, and it appraised for $700,000. So still leaving 20% down in this property and doing it this way. He'll have pulled out, if he wanted to, he can pull out quite a bit of his cash and just leave in 40 grand or something like that. Still have 20% left in the property and be able to make this work. So this is one just right off the MLS. You guys can look up the address and see what we bought it for and everything like that when it closed and
Yeah.
everything.
Cool.
Love it.
And so, yeah, we've kind of gone through this a little bit, but like that's what we were trying to show to you, like these properties through those case studies that we went through. For investors, it gives you the ability to burn out a significant portion of the equity that you've seen in appreciation, and then rinse and repeat. And then for agents, it gives you the ability to sell stuff on the MLS. You don't have to do any special thing, but just show the potential by learning what this product is. And you can hook up with a team, you can create your own team that can help you to do this process over and over. And so we do have clients, you know, like Chris, for example, by becoming this kind of consultant, with Chris, we were able to take one transaction that would have been to create one rental property. Instead, we have now transacted with Chris 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times. And so that's awesome for Chris. Like that's worked out really well for him. And Chris is now looking to buy a few more properties this year. Like that's his goal. And so we're actively looking at and for properties for Chris. And so that's amazing to be able to do that. But it's also amazing that Chris has been able to create this portfolio for himself that has been a life changer, and it's switched on a light bulb. And so we do have clients that we've transacted with 5, 10. Our biggest client we've transacted with on this product 28 times. And so that's an amazing thing as a real estate agent or as an investor that's budding, figuring out how do I make myself that Chris or that Scott who's done 28 of these products. Like that becomes a life changer for anybody that's involved. But maybe it's somebody that just does one, or maybe does a house hack. You can, as an agent or an investor, you can figure out how to make this product work for you so that you can do it once, you can do it twice, or you can do it 28 times. And so.
Yeah, and then, you know, I see we do have a question in there, but I'll just answer it because I'm just talking about those examples. But, you know, the cash flow on that. So both of those mortgages, both of those are paying, even though they're different prices, they were bought at different times, you know, of the year. So this one was just bought in June. So $3,200 a month is what they're paying. One of them's cash flowing by $6,500 a month, and the other one's 64. So sorry, cash flow wise, what they're actually netting and bringing home after they're paying the property management company. So this one, after he pays the property management company, probably about $500 a month or so, he's still going to be bringing in about $2,700 a month in cash flow on this property when he's all said and done. And so for us, that's why we love these in California, because if an AC breaks on a property that we have in Nashville, that AC still costs exactly the same as it does here in California almost, you know. So we're going to be paying $6,000 in Nashville, and we're going to be paying $6,000 here in California to do it. The difference is in Nashville, it's going to take me the entire year to recoup that money almost. And here in California, hopefully, you know, 2.5 months, we've recouped that money. We're back to cash flowing again on these properties. So we love that. And we know things appreciate just so much faster in Southern California. So the more that we can be in Southern California, the more we want to be here for ourselves. And like Jared was saying, so see if you want to go on to that next slide on those ones, is that, you know, you asked about construction costs and looking at that. And I mean, that's a huge part of this, right? It doesn't work. It still works, but it doesn't work as well if we're paying $150 for each unit, right? If we're $300,000 in on construction costs, totally screws up the numbers and throws everything off. And so that's one thing that we definitely talk a lot about in the course and in our group is getting that done. And so we had one of our contractors go out and we had him buy everything just straight up at Home Depot. And we were just like, we want to track everything and really see what this cost. And what it came out to, Jared, 23 grand, 20.
Yeah, that's right.
like 23 grand total for all the material costs. So after that, it's just labor. So like, what is that guy charging us in labor to do this? You know, that's how he broke
Yeah.
it down. And so I get that. You have other contractors that, you know, we have a good friend of ours down in Long Beach and he kills it. And if I was down in Long Beach, I would probably have him do my place too, just to not have to deal with the headache of piecing this all together, you know? And so I'd pay him 150 for one unit just because I know the quality of work and what he does. But at the same time, when you're doing something like this, either as an agent or as an investor, for us, cash flow is really important. And so we're trying to get the best deal possible with a decent quality product. You know, we're not trying to be on HGTV here. We wish we could be, but we're not. These are tub kits. It's subway tile. It's the same thing over and over and over again. You know, white shaker cabinets, oak-ish looking LVP flooring, and we're moving on to the next one, you know? And so it's just rinse and repeat, same thing over and over and over again. So
That's
For
crazy. 23,000 was all materials.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
all it was.
Wow.
What it
That's
costs.
insane.
And so,
Before Jared.
yeah, I mean, that's why we have created this community. So yes, there's a course that's involved and we teach people how to do that, but we can go through what the benefits of joining our community would be if that was something that you had interest in. And so we can just put this up here. One of the things though that I will say for people that have questions on what this is, one of the fun things that we've been able to do with course members, we have a few of the people that are in our community that are actual contractors. And so they're working with subs. And one of the fun things that happened recently to one of our contractors is she was like, man, I don't know how you guys are getting the prices that you are. And I was like, okay, her name's Trudy. I was like, Trudy, next time you're getting a bid, I want you to call me. And I want to go through that bid with you. And I want to figure out where we can save money. And so we did it. We sat down, we spent about 45 minutes going through her bid. And in general, like this is something that we don't necessarily always have time to do with each of our people. What we like to do is we like to drive these conversations to the community. But we sat down, we did this, spent 45 minutes and went through her bid and showed her all the different ways that we could save her money. And I was super excited. I got a text from her just a few days later, and she's like, I went back to my subs on this bid, and she said, because of this, like my profit on this deal just went up by $30,000. Well, so that was cool. So yeah, she joined our community. So talking about what, things that we are trying to add in value to people. Awesome. But on that one deal, it changed her income by $30,000. And so what that means for somebody that's out operating this product is the same kind of conversation can save you $30,000 on your triplex. But that was just one unit that she was able to create a $30,000 savings for herself in the cost to build this unit for a client. And so the bottom line is proximity is power. That's one of the things that we like to talk about is we're out here operating this product every day. So if you're an investor, I guarantee you that we have value to add to you by being a part of our community, because we are doing so much of this. At the end of the day, we know the pieces and the places that you can save money. That contractor that we just talked to you about, we just referred, he does mini splits on his deals. He's in our community. He has done a lot of ADUs as well. He only builds them for other people, but he is an investor as well. Well, we were just able to hook him up with the guy that does our mini splits. He currently is paying $3,000 per mini split that he gets installed. We just cut that price.
That's not including what he's probably charging his clients. That's what he's paying.
That's what he's paying. That's correct. So we were just able to refer him over to our mini split person and cut his cost down from $3,000 to $1,400. And he's doing 20 mini splits per month. So these are the things, right? Like, this is what's exciting to us. We want to teach people how to build portfolios through our program, whether they're real estate agents or whether they're investors. But those are the dumb little things that we can do to help people save money. And we're concerned about that. But more importantly, we're concerned about looking at this from a perspective of, back to Sosie's fifth point, of the benefits of going out and investing and creating rental product, is we need housing units in California. It is a necessity. We are super underbuilt. And a large reason, a good portion of the reason we're seeing so many homeless people right now, or unhoused people, is that we don't have enough housing units that are affordable. So when we can put a housing unit on the market that is $1,600 instead of the luxury apartment that's around the corner that's introducing new units to the market at $2,500, that matters. We are creating housing for people, but also we are helping people in this community to figure out how they can change their own lives, whether it's by selling more property or whether it's by creating more housing units on the market for themselves that they have ownership in and they see inflation on. And so one of the things that we do in our group is we figure out how together to create this product that is super, super needed. And so you can
I
see
would say that what Jared's talking about too, and one thing we didn't really touch on is, as well as first time home buyers and house hacking and things like that. I mean, for 80 grand, if you're telling me I give you 80 grand and you're going to give me $1,800 every month, like, I'm going to do that deal. I would invest in that. I'd give you my money. And that's what basically this is, and so we look at it as, if someone can have that 80 grand or be able to do this, or they're looking to downsize or make extra income. A lot of the calls that we're getting now are for people that are just looking to do one unit. They don't want to necessarily do a triplex. And I think that's okay too, obviously, like, whatever that is for anyone in their life. If my parents lived here, my mom lived here in the state, I would 100% be doing this to her house, no doubt, to give her that extra income and just give her that extra support. She's by herself, she has a decent sized house. Like, I want to help her out. Or I'd be doing this and I'd be moving my mom into it for now. And then when she was out of there, I'd be using it as income for my personal property as well. And so one of the things that we talk about in this group and focus on, we do the weekly call. We go over deals. We try and underwrite everything for people. So anyone who has an address, every Thursday night, they can bring it into our group. We'll go over it with everyone in front of the class and kind of talk about it, pros and cons of that property, what we see, what we don't like. We've made many mistakes. When we first started this in 2021, we bought a lot of stuff that we shouldn't have bought, that we were trying to do this on. So we can walk people through that. Splitting up a house into a triplex, there's complications on that, light switches, utilities, wiring, parking, all that. We've been through all of that already. So let us help you figure that all out. And Jared talked about contractors and plans. That's something we offer in-house for anyone in our course. We do the plan sets for $3 grand a piece for people in our course, $5 grand if you're not in our course. But, we try and add value wherever we can, and we want to make this a good product that has a lot of people participating in it and making this happen.
Just to clarify, guys.
The last thing that's not on this, though, that we are now doing for our people is if they live in Southern California, or at least within like 45 miles of us here in Riverside, we are able to help them do construction at a discounted rate as well. And so from what we would charge somebody to do one of these conversions through our construction company, they will take a discount of $10,000 off of that sticker price on each unit. And so even if you're a real estate agent or you're just a consumer. If you've joined our course and want to learn how to hack this, we didn't sell you a property. You still can save 20 grand over what we would charge you if you just called us up and said, hey man, can you come do an ADU and junior ADU for us in our backyard? So that's a major value savings that we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is create a community of people that build this product and put it out on the market so that people have places to live, but also are synergistic. We want people to come into our course, and we've now done 180 some odd of these triplex conversions somewhere in the process. And so that's added a few hundred units to the market. We're adding a few hundred some odd units to the market by doing this. We want people to come into our course and be like, oh, these guys are dumbasses. Like if they did it this way or that way, they would do way more and figure out all of our tricks, download all of our knowledge and do it way better and go throw 15,000 units into the market. Awesome. Come and do that. Be a part of it with us. Help us figure out what we're doing wrong. But we are able to dedicate the time to this, to people in our community that have all the questions. And so if you give us 100 questions, we'll give you 100 answers, and maybe 90 of them are the best answers. But there's lots of them that you're going to learn that we don't even know, but we're going to figure that out in the community. We have time to create that directional content and to spend the time with you in our community. It's very hard for us, every person that has a question and decides to build this product, to sit down and work through all of their problems with them. But when we work through the problems together in the community, other people that are in our community already have the answers, or we've created that content already in our course. But we're definitely going to answer in one spot, and everybody gets to benefit from the answer, and the resolution comes from that. So that's
Guys,
it.
just to clarify, is the total for the course 31,000?
No, it's not. So that's what we're saying the value is if you come into the course. And so there's two options. If you want to be in the course, there is a link that we provided at the very end that gives Soci acknowledgement for bringing you guys here together. But the bottom line is, it's to sign up for our course. It's $1,200 and $200 a month to be a part of that. And that includes all of the things that we talked about, including discounted construction, which is, if you do one of these triplexes, is another $20,000 in value and construction savings if you're in our local area. Orange County, LA.
$1,200 for the class, and then $200 a month for as long as you're in it.
Yeah. Or
wow.
if you do a one pay, it's $3,500 and you never pay anything again, and you're in the course for life. So either way, we join courses all the time. We just joined Pace Morby's course. We paid $8,800 for that. We realize we're developing this course. We've got 40 some odd people that are in it right now. So as we're growing that, like, this is kind of like an introductory offer. Our goal, there's similar courses to ours that are going for $10,000. Thatch Nguyen does one, and that's what he charges. We have the ability to download massive value right now at a very low price because we're trying to build that community. But ultimately, our goal is to add so much value and transact with other people. That's our goal. That's what we're trying to do, is create a community where people in Southern California and Northern California are actually doing deals and creating massive change. And I think 8 of our people are up in Central and Northern California that are in our course right now. And so it's fun to do this with them and to be able to help download value in any way that we can and create massive change for their lives and create massive change for the lives of their clients, and see lots more housing units that are affordable hit our market. That's what we're excited about.
I love it. Well, guys, as we come to questions, just to do 2 questions on my end. And if you have questions, make sure to put them in the question and answer spot. We'll watch for them. If you want to add it to the chat, feel free to. Before we share the link of where you can sign up, just to reconfirm, it's 1,200 for 200 a month. Is there a limit of what that 200 goes to, or is it just 200 indefinitely?
It's just indefinitely. As long as you're in the program, it's $200 a month. As we raise our prices, our target price, like that we're planning on being at, is $500 a month. But right now, before we hit 100 people, we are keeping it at $200 a month. But if you join at $200 a month, you're just always going to be grandfathered in $200 a month. Or if you pay $3,500 once, you're done. You're not paying another fee ever again.
In regards to ADUs, does an ADU require a bathroom and a kitchen to count as ADU?
Yes, it does. It requires a bathroom and a kitchen. Actually, junior ADU, you can technically share the main house kitchen. I believe it does need a cooking surface though. We don't do them that way. We're creating what should be created, which is a separate entrance unit by itself, independent unit. You don't need anybody else to operate it. But I believe that you can.
For the ADU, it does need both for sure, and it's all closed
right
off.
for an ADU, yes.
Yeah, for a junior, you can leave a doorway open to the house and share the bathroom.
Share the bathroom, but it does need its own kitchen. That's correct. That's what it is. You can share the bathroom, but we don't do them that way. We create a bathroom and kitchen for each junior.
You do have one client in Lake Elsinore that's doing that because it's her mother-in-law, and so she's always going to be coming in and out anyways, and so they're doing a junior ADU in part of their living room space for her to have her own like bedroom.
But from an investment strategy, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do anything other than that. Like the cost to go through planning, permitting, all of the stuff to save the cost on a bathroom, which is going to add an extra 5-ish, 6-ish grand to create. You might as well just create the freaking bathroom, and you're going to have a much, much more marketable product.
Yeah, I've had a client do a triplex.
Sorry. No, that's one thing that I want to say though too, is the fact that we're practitioners on this and we know what rents and doesn't rent is a huge value add to people as they're going out to do that, because we went through the learning curve to figure out what it looks like, how hard it is to rent if you do it this way or that way. And so that's the bumps and bruises that we've gone through, and we're like, hey, don't create that floor plan anymore. That's up and stupid. Like, only do this.
Yeah, love it. I've had a client buy a triplex, add an ADU, and then build a junior ADU on top of that ADU. Would you recommend that, or is there any feedback you could give on something to that degree?
Yeah, I mean, look, we look at everything, and like we dive deeply into this in our course, but we look at everything from a cash invested versus a cash returned monthly. And when we look at that, that's how we determine whether that makes sense or not. When I look at a triplex, very often the triplex is already getting a significant value from its rent roll, right? And so if I'm paying $1 million to get a $6,000 rent roll, that's a 0.6 multiplier. Well, what I'm trying to create when I'm doing these is a 1% rule. That's a 0.1 multiplier. That means if I'm spending $1 million, then I want $10,000 a month in rent, not $6,000 a month in rent. And so from that perspective, if I'm buying a triplex, it makes it harder for me to get to that rent roll that makes sense to hit that 1% or that 1% multiplier instead of 0.6 multiplier. So if you already own the unit, awesome. Throw up the ADU and JADU. Cool. That may make a lot of sense. Sometimes it makes sense to 1031 into something better. And that's kind of what we go through in our course. We teach people how to run those numbers, figure all that stuff out. But yes.
The thing I would add on to that is like you're taking a triplex and you're turning it into 5 units now. And so be careful with that too, because now you just went to a commercial property. So there's little things like that. But like if I owned it, I would for sure do it that way. And like what we would
Yeah.
look for if we were buying a triplex to do this too for ourselves is, something that had triplexes but had garages that we could convert, and a lot of times people are using those garages. It depends on where they're at, what the location is. Sometimes those are valuable to people, but we had a guy that just called us. He has a fourplex, him and his mom, and he wants to do something with it, but no, they're not even using the garages. Their tenants aren't, like they're just full of their own stuff. And so he's like, I can take my mom's stuff out of there and just put it into storage. It's like her old stuff, and he's like, I want to just combine the two garages together to two cars. And now he's got 800 square foot ADU that he could do out of those garages and add that other unit.
Yeah.
I love that.
And, and then we're also is like updating the laws, updating the course. We just added 2 more hours of content to the course because there's lots and lots of ways that the laws have changed. And we want to be able to show people the benefits of those things. There's conduitization that's now becoming allowed, and how does that affect us? And all these different things, we want to make sure not only do we know how they affect them, but we're in the process of doing those things. So we're going first so that the people in our course were like, oh, here's the bumps and bruises that we experienced on that and did not do it that way. So that's what we're about.
3 things I would throw out from a mortgage standpoint to consider for every viewer, right, is that there's 3 overlooked opportunities I think that happen a lot, especially if you're trying to house hack this, right? So there's a new rule that allows you to do 5% on up to 4 units at certain loan amounts. And so if you are trying to buy a multi and then add any ADU or junior ADU, look into that. If you have a parent who can't afford to buy their own housing, you can actually use that parent without being on the loan to make it have the same terms as a primary, so you could still do the lower down. Then if you have any children going to college that you've added them as authorized users a year ago, their credit is good, they might not have the income to bring in, but they could potentially bring in the occupancy, so you can do a low down on that. Those are 3 occupancy opportunities that a lot of people miss that I would just make sure you're considering as you're going through this. Any other questions, guys, coming in before we wrap it up today? Brian, Jared, that was really good, guys. Thank you so much for this. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to even just join and be a part because I want to learn a lot, especially if you're gleaning from others. It's going to be a really cool way to just be able to come behind you guys and learn what you're learning and see you be a little bit of a filter to take the blows of the mistakes. So I don't have to.
Sure, definitely.
Well,
sure.
if any final thoughts, gentlemen, as we show here, guys, next steps, if you want to join the group, there is a code here. You can just scan your phone, join the crew there. $1,200 upfront, $200 a month, $3,500 one time. Grab it before the prices go up. This is going to be some really cool value. I'm excited to explore the community myself. And we all know, right? Your network is your net worth. And so being around people who have been brave enough to go through and figure out and then have hearts big enough to share once they're on that side is a beautiful gift. And so I hope all of us can really just lean into it and learn from these guys. Jared, Brian, any final thoughts? Thank you to Tamia. Such a compliment.
Yeah, no, thank you for the time. We're grateful for the opportunity to talk to everyone, and hopefully, people realize this. I mean, for us, it's in the beginning, when I first started with Jared, it did feel more like, I don't know, as agents, we were like, all right, we're going to crush everyone. We don't want to tell what we're doing. We quickly realized there's no secret. There's flipping, wholesaling, all this kind of stuff. There's nothing that someone's doing that no one else doesn't know about, right? And so for us, we've totally flipped how we think about this, and we just want to be able to provide value and be an open book and just lay it all out there for everyone, so.
Yeah, and I second what Brian said. Like, we appreciate you allowing us to be on here and sharing with those people that you care about and trust and know you. And for us, like Brian said, we do want to deliver value first. Absolutely. There is our group that you can join. You can follow us on Cashflow California, and we do share a lot of free content. We aren't able to give all of the information there that is required because at the end of the day, people wouldn't watch it. It's super, super boring to go through all of the tiny, minute details that go into making every single decision that we do on this. But I will say that we do love to give back. We love to share as much as we can. Real estate has blessed our lives. It has changed the way that we look at the world and the way that we look at ourselves and our own business. And it also has changed the trajectory of our children's lives, from the ability to provide for them something that is massive in their life. As our portfolios continue to grow, it completely changes the way that we look at it. And we're just so excited to be able to share that with other people and show them how to do that in their own lives. So thanks so much, Sosie.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Well, everyone else, thank you for joining us this evening. And I hope you guys all learned a lot. Feel free to send any other questions our way to either of our Instagram channels. And we will see you at the next event. Thank you guys so much. Hope you have a great night, everyone. Bye.